Soul Ages, the conclusion. As mentioned, each soul age has 7 distinct stages, so that an individual can be referred to as a 4th level old soul or a 7th level young soul, etc. Every soul age gives a distinct flavour to the lifetime spent in that arena. Each level can take from anywhere from 25 to 200 lifetimes to complete, though some souls tend to speed through faster and others like to enjoy a more thorough and leisurely pace. But the 6th level takes the longest to get through, and it's not unusual for souls to get stuck on this level, and they could languish for centuries. At the first level of any age, there is a sense of uneasiness, and people at this level will usually spend about 70% of their time back in the comfortable, familiar level just completed. The first level is ordinarily enough of a trial balloon that it does not give itself a centre stage to behaviours. So sort of think of it as a kind of feeler probe or something like that. But on the second level, it's a little bit cosier, but there's still a lot of push-pull. People begin to realise that they can function best by forging ahead into the new consciousness, and that the former perceptivity keeps them frustrated. Yet they aren't sure of their footing within this new level at all just quite yet. The third level person begins to gain the full perspective of the new soul age internally, but has difficulty manifesting it into the world. This person becomes extremely introverted and intellectually introspective while trying to integrate the new awareness into day-to-day life. Third level people do their best when they give themselves the space and time to stay at home and be alone as much as they want. Respecting their own peculiarness and loving themselves just the way that they are always smooths the way for more enjoyment and self and life. Now, 4th level, bingo! Integrated and consolidated. The perspective is now both inner and outer, comfortable and feeling assured while pushing out into the world. 4th level lifetimes are spent in full swing, doing and achieving any number of things, perhaps forming bits of karma along the way. 5th level people start pushing on the limits of their reassuring 4th level experiences. Believe it or not, humans don't stick with comfort for long, especially when it starts impinging on growth. Leaving the beaten path, this level stretches every point and often shows up as pretty eccentric in the process. At 5th level, a person may feel out of his element and at odds or off balance socially, and may be seen as less mature than he was in his more comfortable 4th level. 6th level lifetimes are about karma. In infant, baby and young lifetimes, you're usually busier creating karmas than paying them back. Every soul plunges in during these early phases and forms the karmas which will cause shudders when you sense from the perspective of later lifetimes what took place and what troubles you caused. Usually, once these karmas have come back in your face, you know that you would never act like that again, ever, because you understand all too well what it felt like back then. So for example, right here and now, would you go out into the street and kill someone for no good reason? I seriously doubt it, and I hope not, but because you've done that in an earlier soul level, but you've since learned that lesson. So now the whole idea comes across as grotesque and wrong, and that's how we remember past lives. In mature and old 6th level lifetimes, you piece together the experiences of the prior levels and start handling obligations incurred along the way. This means accumulated karmic debts get paid back through numerous, intense, nearly overfilled 6th level lives. A person will likely have trouble after trouble, a lot of hard luck, and be at their wits' end from all the calamities and the drama coming their way. These 6th level catch-up lives are difficult and demanding, and that is why they usually take longer to complete than any other level. As an old soul, these lives are truly the last chance for all karmic completions, some of which have been avoided for dozens upon dozens of lifetimes. Phew! Finally at the 7th level. The karma's paid. It's time for some well-earned rest and contemplacency. Not too many obstructions or impending subplots here. 7th level lives usually unfold rather gracefully. Having freshly understood the lessons themselves, individuals are in good position to teach others, especially those of the soul age just completed. For mature and old souls particularly, there is an urgency to share their new perspective and ways of being with others. 7th level lives are often, graced with comfort and tend to flow. Okay, let's crunch some numbers. Now we're going to look at age percentage population. There are 35 levels in all. The average youngest souls on Earth are 3rd level infant, and the overall average is 5th level young. The ages are distributed in a bell curve. So for infant souls, they represent 7% or about 490 million people. Baby souls make up about 15% of the world population, which is about 1.05 billion. Young souls, which is the biggest group, are 41%, and they account for 2.87 billion. Mature souls, which are the second biggest, is 29%, or 2.03 billion, and finally the old souls are at around 8%, or 560 million. At the moment, 7th level accounts for about 14% of the population for older ages and 86% of the younger population. It also shows percentages at 10% intervals of completion of the entire cycle. So for example, a 4th level mature soul is at 70% of their way through that particular soul level. With practice, a person can learn to discern someone's soul age quite readily. Sometimes this can be done from physical appearance and behaviour alone, but it is more easily done by verbal cues which give away the person's perceptions about life. The eyes are another important clue. The depth of personality is often displayed here if one knows what to look for. However, there are some potentially misleading factors such as intelligence, education, or socio-economic status. A wide deviation from the average, higher or lower, in these factors might cause one to misjudge their soul age. For instance, many 7th level old souls are vagabonds and bums because their attachment to the physical plane is so tenuous. It is also wise not to be misled about soul age by a person's degree of metaphysical enlightenment. Old souls are more open to mystical and occult knowledge, but this is not always the case by any means. Reincarnation seems to be a very metaphysical understanding that comes naturally to older souls. I personally have seen a few young souls who were aware of reincarnation, and these were at late levels. There is also an infant and baby soul known to me who are practicing metaphysics, who believe in reincarnation, but they are both at the 7th level. Usually it is at the late level mature and old souls who believe in reincarnation. Since there is no strict scientific proof of reincarnation, they come to believe in it because it seems intuitively obvious to them. Soul age manifestation is sometimes a mixed bag. A 5th level old soul may be manifesting young in the area of money, for example, mature in the area of relationships, and old in most other areas. The energies that these perspectives generate might combine to form a composite manifested age of, say, 7th level mature. Since it can be an average, manifested soul age may not always seem to completely fit. Furthermore, most souls only spend, between 20 and 60% of the time in their actual true soul age. These numbers are much higher in older souls, on later levels. This is because when times get tough, souls automatically revert back to old comfort zones of familiarity, which of course are from past life experience. So a third level mature soul may come across as a fifth, sixth or seventh level young soul. This is why a lot of souls, a lot of the time, get stuck in a cycle and literally take hundreds of lives to get through it. Older is not better. It is well to note that there is no superiority implied in the advance of maturation. Being an old soul is just as limiting in perspective as being an infant soul, only in different ways. All ages are necessary in the scheme of things. Just as it is necessary to start out as a baby and advance through to old age, all ages have their particular kinds of problems and difficulties in adjusting in life. It is no better to be an old soul than to be a mature soul. Just as it isn't better to be 45 years old than it is to be 32 years old or 14 years old. A young person may be wise and an old person may be foolish. A baby soul may be loving and an old soul bitter. People of every soul age are capable of manifesting their true personality, that is, of acting out of their positive poles, which are motivated by love. Younger souls are simply less experienced than older souls, not having completed as many lessons. There is a tendency for older souls to have a greater understanding of what the younger soul experiences are like, and vice versa. Knowing about soul age perspective is exceedingly helpful in understanding the way other people think and the way that they look at life, and understanding something about their life tasks. Each soul age is trying to experience as much as possible within that particular level of perspectivity. It's absolutely to the point for an infant soul to be fearfully concerned about basic survival, and for baby souls to be requesting law and order. A young soul is appropriate when striving for great material wealth, power and acclaim, and a mature soul when beginning to feel intensely emotional and ask those deeper questions. And it's appropriate for an old soul not to meet social norms and to even act mildly eccentric, and to be teaching others, even when his own personal or material life isn't all together. To expect your old soul child to make a successful climb up a corporate ladder is unrealistic. Likewise, it's an error to count upon an aggressive young soul attorney turning his attention towards saving the environment, or to believe a mature soul embroiled in a major emotional drama would be able to calm down because you showed them the big picture. An old soul starts each lifetime being born as an infant who experiences infant soul consciousness and gradually grows into prior levels of consciousness. A baby often perceives through baby soul consciousness. Think about a 2-year-old shrieking because a parent offended her sense of right and wrong. People vary, but generally reach their competitive young soul consciousness sometime in grade school years. Mature soul consciousness arrives for many during junior high school and is what your up and down, full of drama teenager is experiencing. Indeed, the first half of the mature cycle is akin to teenage angst. Individuals come close to obtaining their true soul age roughly 1/3 of the time. So in other words, they get stuck or they get lazy. Or the soul finds it easier to complete certain karmas at an earlier, more ambitious or more emotional soul level. While most old souls, and mature souls too, will be doing the intense mature phase in their teens and early 20s, an old soul is often not consistently acting out of old soul awareness until about the age of 35. And even then, it may only be for some areas of their life and not others. When security buttons get pushed, for instance, it is often difficult to remain completely centered in your old soul consciousness. Old souls will be able to successfully drop out of some of the baby soul discipline, young soul ambition, mature soul emotional, only if those qualities are integrated sufficiently into their personality so that they have access to them when necessary. But it does not work to stick your nose in the air or head in the sand in an attempt to avoid lessons given from other soul ages. People who come to this information are usually relieved to find out why they are different from mainstream society. They knew they marched to a different drum anyway, but now this all just confirms it. The purpose of the teaching is a gape, not creating yourself to be one up. Younger souls are not less intelligent, less appropriate or wrong. Their lessons are about survival, structure, ambition and success, while mature and older lessons are about emotional and universal connections. Younger souls are a natural part of the whole. And you know that it's all connected, right? So, if you're indulging yourself by feeling superior, aim for mild tolerance as a way to begin clearing up that attitude, which ultimately is a painful separatist one to carry around. This series on soul ages was really just scratching the surface. There is so much more to this topic. However, it was only my intention to introduce people to soul ages in an attempt to help them understand who they are and why the world is like it is right now. By understanding your soul age and those around you should help you in your ascension process. Thank you for watching. In Lakesh.